Welcome back. Sports news now. The national under-23 team will not be seeded for tomorrow's draw for the Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations, which will also serve as qualifiers for next year's Rio Olympics. The Confederation of African Football have confirmed only hosts Senegal and Egypt are the seeded teams for Monday's draw. Host Senegal will be seated in Group A, while Egypt will headline Group B. This means that the other 6 finalists, which include Nigeria, Algeria, Mali, Zambia, Tunisia, and South Africa, could be drawn in either group. The Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations will be staged in November. In the domestic league leaders Enyimba Vaba this evening further cemented their league in the Nigeria Professional Football League with a 2-0 win over strugglers Dolphins of Port Harcourt. 2 goals from substitutes Andrew Abalogu and Ifeanyi Emeka was all the team needed to take their points to 55 points from 29 games. Sharks of Port Harcourt further moved away from the relegation zone following a 1-0 win against FC Ifeanyi. Taraba FC also edged out Giwa FC by a lone goal. In other games also decided today, Enugu Rangers beat Shooting Stars 2-1. The title hopes of Sunshine Stars of Akure suffered a massive setback when they lost at home to Nasarawa United 3-2. Defending champions Kano Pillars beat Abia Warriors, 3-0. Rains in New York have delayed the start of the U.S. Open that was moved to 2200 GMT. Well, number 2 Roger Federer, who's targeting his 18th Grand Slam title, has not dropped a set since losing that Wimbledon final to world number 1 Novak Djokovic in July. Djokovic is aiming for 3rd Grand Slam title of 2015, having already won the Australian Open and Wimbledon. Both players are meeting for the 42nd time in what has become the most riveting rivalry of all time in tennis. However, the newly crowned U.S. Open champion Flavia Pinietta shows off her new hardware on top of the Rockefeller Center in the Big Apple, New York City, and confirms her happiness about the decision to retire. Pinietta, the oldest maiden Grand Slam finalist in the Open era, becomes the first Italian to win the U.S. Open women's crown and did so on Saturday with an efficient 7-6-6-2 victory over childhood friend Roberta Vinci. Pinietta, who carted home $3.3 million for the win, says she would play to the end of the season, including tournaments in Wuhan, Beijing, and possibly the Elite 8-woman WTA finals in Singapore.
I mean, I'm really ready for this kind of life, for change my life, and I couldn't think to do in a better way. I think it's unbelievable. I really don't know what happened now in Italy. They just called me, my mom, and they say, okay, Flavi, maybe you can stay 2 or 3 days there and just be ready, because maybe you don't understand what happened here. I saw some video, some people watching the TV yesterday. I think it's going to be a big thing. I mean, yesterday I didn't know he was coming. It was a surprise for me, and to have here this morning with me here is amazing.
My niece and nephew.
Her joy knows no bounds. Now, undefeated champion Floyd Mayweather is ready to retire from the ring after winning over Andre Berto, moving him to 49 victories in Las Vegas, tying Rocky Marciano's all-time record. Mayweather easily outboxed his younger opponents over the 12 rounds to retain his WBC and WBA welterweight titles. 5-division world champion Mayweather dominated most of the exchanges in the MGM Garden Arena with his lightning jabs, control of space, and agile movement about the ring to finish well ahead on all 3 judges' scorecards.
You know, I face all the top guys in the sport of boxing. You know, to be in a sport for 19 years and to be world champion 18 years, I had a remarkable career. People don't know, I mean, you get to a certain level to where you can't buy nothing anymore. You know, you can't get moved by a Rolls Royce, or you can't get moved by a car. When you got everything, there's nothing else you can get moved by. And I've accomplished everything in the sport. So now it's time for me to help these young fighters break my record. I want to see my records broken. Of course, I want to be a part of it. You know, I'm just blessed. Every champion, Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, there's so many legendary champions, Larry Holmes, and the list goes on and on, that opened up the doors to pave the way for me to be where I'm at today.
Away from sports news now, the German government has announced plans to introduce temporary border controls on the border with Austria to stem the flow of migrants on the continent. Chancellor Angela Merkel said Germany was now at the limit of its capabilities, although it had made arrangements to accept at least 800,000 migrants this year. The German Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière has urged EU countries to abide by the rules of border controls, which stipulate that refugees must apply for asylum in the country where they first arrived, saying that refugees could not choose their host countries in the EU. Last month, he said the Bavarian police will begin to carry out checks to determine immediately who is entitled to asylum, but it is not clear how checks such as that will be made. Although the European Union's Schengen zone allows passport-free movement between member countries, signatories can reimpose border controls for short periods for public policy or national security reasons after consulting contracting parties. Israeli police have clashed with Palestinian youth in one of Islam's holiest sites, the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex. The holy compound is a source of religious and political tension between Israel and the Palestinians. It's also a frequent flashpoint for violence. According to the police, Palestinian youth who had barricaded themselves inside the mosque were planning disruptions to prevent Jews from visiting the site. Security forces then launched a surprise raid early in the morning, hoping to open the site as planned. There were reports of further clashes outside the compound in Jerusalem's Old City, and Israeli police are now set to be patrolling its narrow alleyways. President Mahmoud Abbas has condemned the attacks, saying it is an aggression against the faithful who were there. 5,000 firefighters are trying to control fires in Northern California, set to have caused thousands of people to flee their homes. The fires across the region have been attributed to high temperatures and years of drought. According to the California Forestry and Fire Department spokesperson, Daniel Berland, the state has spent as much as $212 million fighting fires in July alone. He also said more than 275 homes and other buildings have been destroyed, and emergency shelters operated by the Red Cross have been opened for the evacuated residents. And the main news again. The Nigerian army has reported steady progress in the war against terror. In a statement, acting director, Nigerian Army Public Relations, Colonel Sani Usman, said new strategies and tactics, including sustained offensive operations, preemptive airstrikes and routes blocking by ground troops, have forced several of the terrorists to surrender. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to prioritizing the energy sector. The Vice President has also asked Nigerians to await the best ministerial list. And President Muhammadu Buhari will be visiting France tomorrow to hold talks on security and economic matters. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I am Amarachi Ubadi.